Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Still in the Game podcast. I'm Roger Smith here on VYPE and VYPELCISD.com. Glad to have as our second ever guest, Trey Sissom, the longtime coach of the Travis Tigers football program. It's great to have you with us. And we have so many things we can talk about. But first of all, let's talk about how you came to the decision to go ahead and call it a career.
Yeah, well, first off, Roger, it's great to see you again. Always loved when we were at Travis, getting you there on the games on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. But in terms of retirement, I hit my 30 years, and I was 11 years at Travis, and had a great run. But I've got two kids that are in college now, and my wife and I are kind of at that transition point where we're empty nesters, and I've watched a lot of football over the years, and we decided that we wanted to try to watch some other people play it other than ones that we had to scout. So when I got to December, talked it over, we just kind of made a family decision, and we're ready to kind of transition into the next phase of our life.
And it's great that it sounds like there was no tug of war either way. Maybe, sometimes wives would like for coaches to retire before they do. And so it looked like everybody felt like, yes, this is the right time.
Yeah, we had kind of toyed with the idea over the last couple of years. We went through with my kids, both went to Travis. So my daughter, Kylie, graduated 2 years ago. So we obviously wanted to stay as long as she was there. And then we went one more year past that while she was in school. We had such a great group of kids at Travis. I really wanted to stay with them and see them through this last season. And like I say, I just think, God's put different people and different things in our life, and it just felt right. It's time to move on to a new chapter. And like I say, we can't be happier at this point.
By the way, I want to, before we go any farther, I always say we're coming to you from Texan Hyundai, and all of our games, which will start with volleyball on August the 18th and football, which will kick in shortly after that, all presented by Texan Hyundai here in Rosenberg. And it's a great place to come and buy a new vehicle. And very recently, you bought one yourself.
Yeah, it was. It's interesting, when you texted me the other day and was going to get it set up. We were here last weekend. So my wife, we had searched around for about a month, and we made the decision. We bought a Hyundai from here, got the nice Palisade hybrid. So we're excited about that, and she loves it. I get to ride in the back seat. I don't get to drive it a whole lot, but it's as good a car as you could ever want for sure.
And you ran into one of your former players, Peyton Morris, former Travis Tiger.
Yeah. It was, there's a lot of people down here. I just happened to have a Travis shirt on the other day, and come to find out that one of our slot receivers, he was back on this summer from college and was looking for a job, and he walked in, and they're training him up, and he's going to do a great job for him here.
All right. Speaking of things that you're involved with, I see you've got a T-shirt, Greater Houston Football Coaches Association, and I would presume you wore that because you're still active with them.
Yeah. So, within Houston, obviously, we take football pretty seriously, and the Greater Houston Football Coach Association is one of the leading high school local associations across the country. Have a huge membership. I think we'd gotten up to about 160 schools in Houston. We're active in our association. I was fortunate over the years. I've been on the board of directors. I served with James Clancy, who's the head coach at Klein Kane, and got to do that. We actually worked through COVID. So we had a couple of years that we stayed together, and it's a great association. Love with all the things that they do in terms of the camaraderie with getting coaches together, but also we have different fundraisers and things that we do to help give back to coaches and coaches' kids that have scholarships and other things. But it's a great association. I would say there's not a better one in the country. I'm obviously biased to that, but I also see the leadership and the people that we have, and it's a great group of guys to be working with.
All right. So we're going to be getting into some kind of serious, things but also very heartwarming things, because I can't remember exactly what year it was when I just said, I'm really just happy to see you, period, because Coach Sissom had a difficult battle with multiple myeloma. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But first of all, I want to talk about, do you know how you're going to react when August gets here and you're not out there preparing a football team? Sometimes I'll be heading into something in my life that hasn't happened before, and I'll wonder, what's it really going to be like? Do you know what it's going to be like? Are you curious?
No. I have no clue, actually. I do know that there are some days when things start stirring around and I feel like I should be doing something. Sundays are still kind of different because obviously, as a football coach, Sundays are a big work day for us. And then you're preparing for the next week. You're preparing for what you're going to do on Monday. So I still find myself on Sunday afternoon looking around thinking, what am I supposed to be doing tomorrow? And it hadn't happened yet. But, we got some plans going for August. I get to, like I say, we're going to watch a lot of football. So I'll get to go watch a lot of my kids play. And I get to go watch a lot of guys that I coach with. That's the other side. Obviously, when I was working at Travis, we would always scout. And I was going to watch my next opponent. And that kind of dictated my schedule. Well, now we get to kind of look at the schedule and it's going to be open. And I'm within, probably 30 miles of about 20 guys that I've coached with or coached under. So it'll be exciting to get to go watch them play as August. But yeah, no set schedule yet, Raj.
So now let's just go over some of the facts and figures. You were at Travis for 11 seasons. And to me, it's almost like 10 and a half seasons. The COVID year was just crazy, but you won 60% of your games. You won 70 out of 117 games. That's pretty good. And is there anything in particular that you remember, maybe great triumphs or maybe some frustrations of things that you weren't able to do when you were playing in the district with Fort Bend ISD teams?
Yeah, looking at my 11 years that we had at Travis, we were in the playoffs 10 of the 11 years. There was only 1 year that we didn't make the playoffs, which was a pretty big accomplishment. Got to be, when it comes down to it, it's kind of hard to say the wins and the losses because a lot of times I don't remember the wins and the losses, but I remember the kids. I remember the guys that I coached with, the memories. Obviously won a district title. Went 10-0 1 year and got the district title. And that was the first time that Travis had won district outright since I had been there. We beat a lot of really good teams, beat Hightower that year, beat Ridgepoint that year, and ended up, that was the 10-0 season. We go 10-1 because the playoff game we played Tompkins, who happened to have a pretty good kid named Jalen Milroe playing quarterback.
He's in the NFL.
He wasn't bad. And I think it was kind of interesting because we were 10-0, they were 10-0. They had won district as well, and the way things lined up, or maybe they were 9-1, but we were number 3 in the area. They were like number 5, and it's just the way that things lined up for us. But my time at Travis, there's definitely, I would never have any complaints. I love the kids that we had from that first year in 2015. I still got a bunch of those guys that come around the school when I was there, or we've had a retirement party and they showed up and came by. But I've also got, like I say, a lot of coaches that I worked with that have moved on to other programs, and they're blossoming around the state as well. So our time at Travis was definitely a good time.
All right. So when you lost to Tompkins and Jalen Milroe, the head coach is Todd McVeigh over at Tompkins, and I met him. Actually, we were counseling at a church camp, and I found out he was retiring from coaching, and he got out of coaching, but then he realized he just couldn't live that way. So he got back in, but you don't think there's any chance that you will get back in?
Probably not. Like I said, that goes up to a higher power right there. And that would be my wife's to call more than likely. But it's interesting you talk about Todd. So when Todd came down to Katy ISD, I was still in Katy at the time. He was assistant AD there, and we got to be friends. And in his time when he wasn't coaching at Tompkins, he actually coached my son in their 7-on-7. They grew up with one of his sons, or actually 2 of his sons. And they played, youth league football and all that time. And then as soon as, I got over to Travis and we started playing a little bit, the next thing you know, Todd got the job at Tompkins, and then we met each other a couple of times in the playoffs.
Well, prior to your time at Travis, head coach at Bel Air, also at Maid Creek. And so how many years total were you a head coach?
So going back to at Bel Air, I was 3 years at Bel Air and then 11 years at Travis. So 14 years as a head coach and 30 overall.
Okay. So assistant at Maid Creek.
Yes, I was assistant at Maid Creek. So Coach Sheffy, Joe Sheffy, was the head coach at the time in 1996 when I got in. And he kind of nurtured me along because I started out as a basketball guy. I was going to coach basketball, and I did for a long time, and then got the bug to coach football and started there. And Joe gave me my first opportunity to coach football. And then when Lance Carter, who's now the athletic director at Katy ISD, he came in, I was with Lance for 2 years before I went down to Bel Air. So, yeah.
All right. So Trey Sissom, formerly the Travis Tigers head coach, and He's got a 21st century Aggie cap on right now. We'll talk about that and many other even more fascinating things when we return on the Still in the Game podcast on VYPE, presented by Texan Hyundai.
It starts with learning the value of saving. We are here when dreams start to take flight. We're here when it's time to build your future. And we're here when it's time to enjoy the moments you've worked for. For every step, for every moment, we are here. Your credit union for life. Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union. Educate, partner, serve.
When you call a specialist, you expect a higher level of service and skill. The most experienced hands, the best craftsmanship, precision. And when your AC goes out in Houston's heat, the work must be done right, and it must last. This high level of quality is only found in the experts at Air Specialist. For AC repair, call the Air Specialist. Excellent quality at a fair price.
All right, here we are at Texan Hyundai in Rosenberg. And by the way, Hyundai is the sponsor partner of World Cup, FIFA World Cup 2026. And as long as the World Cup is going on, I'm not sure when you're watching this podcast, but if the World Cup is still going on, any Saturday you get, is it tacos and snow cones right here at Texan Hyundai in Rosenberg. All right, so wow, you got to coach some amazing football players, and I'm going to start with, he's got to be your most impressive of all, Parker Washington, a highlight reel every time I ever saw him play. And here he is. He's been in the NFL for not quite a decade, but he's pushing that.
Yeah. It's interesting, looking back on it now that I've stepped away from Travis, getting to see all the kids that have played for us. Obviously, Parker had a phenomenal career for us. And what he's doing in the NFL is not a surprise. He's been that good since he was, probably born, when he was running around playing in the youth leagues and that sort of thing. But it's super excited for him. Really, shows how hard work and dedication to your craft can come along, but really showing out for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know he's in camp right now. I follow him on Instagram and all that kind of stuff and see all the things that he's doing, but super excited to see the opportunities he got. I think he just got his second contract. So he's off his rookie deal, which that's kind of the goal when you get to the league, is to get to that second contract. And, the sky's the limit really for him, I think, with the people he's got around him and just seeing what they're actually using him for now. And letting him kind of showcase his talent is really neat.
Well, everybody who is in the NFL has at least some amount of God-given ability, but Parker, he has made the most and continues to do so of everything that God gave him. And let's talk about another guy. You've got, Hakeem Butler.
Yep.
He has been in the NFL for quite some time, and talk about the role that he had for the Travis Tigers.
Yeah, so Hakeem, he graduated the year before I got there, but I've been very fortunate. He's actually come back. Steven Sims was another kid that played with Hakeem.
I wasn't sure if he was with you or was with Coach Cunningham.
Yeah, so the year that Coach Cunningham retired was my first year in. They had just graduated. But like I say, I've gotten to know them just in the fact that they're such great people. They've come back. We actually have done football camps with them there at Travis, youth camps and things, and we followed their career along. We've actually, Steven Sims, his cousin, has played for me, and then his sister and them have actually been working at Travis, so they had a vested interest. But Hakeem is another one that was a kid that really has made the most out of it. I think he just signed a contract. He was the MVP in the league that he just played in, playing in St. Louis, which is awesome. He really is getting the recognition that he deserves from how well he's played. But he just signed, I believe, with Denver. So he's going to get a shot to get back into the NFL. But as good a kid as you'll ever want to see, has grown into an unbelievable player. And really, again, one of those guys that's made the most out of what God gave him. But it's interesting when they come back, when we would have our camps, they would get 5 or 6 guys that have played in the NFL or had been around this area. A couple of them went to Bush, a couple of them went to Hightower. And, when you just get them around there, they're just football players. They're just good kids, and then they're doing a great job. And those guys are Travis Tigers through and through.
Well, you had something in common with Randy Cunningham, who preceded you at Travis, and both of you had sons who played quarterback. And I remembered Randy's son, Cody, and I was afraid that because of so many times I've heard Eddie Murphy saying this, I was going to call him Opie Cunningham. But Cody Cunningham, was a very serviceable, effective quarterback at Travis. And they had a player named Spencer Griffin who had started at Kempner. And I'm a little bit bitter about that because I had two boys that graduated Kempner and Spencer didn't stay at Kempner. I'm thinking about how good the Cougars could have been if he had stayed there. But he transferred over to Travis, and he was so effective because it's the old Wildcat thing. You come in, it's a big change of pace. You pick up the tempo, and all of a sudden the defense on the field is not really the personnel that they want out there to stop different things. So Coach Cunningham would occasionally say he's just tired of all the crap of fans griping about the coach's son quarterbacking. You had Drew Sissom, your son, he played very effectively at quarterback. He did have some injuries, unfortunately. But talk about what it's like when you get a little blowback when you're the head coach and your son plays quarterback.
Yeah, it's that's the gift and the curse, right? Mm-hmm. When you talk about the highlights of things at Travis, that's probably one of the highlights I would have to say is getting to coach my son. But it's also the fact that I was harder on him than I would have been on other kids. We didn't treat him any differently just because he was the coach's kid. And the fact that, even when I hear things, people talk about stuff in the stands and all those kind of things, it's one thing. But when you get back home and there's somebody across the dinner table that's telling you some of those things, that's when you really got to make sure you listen. But having a son come through our program and seeing him grow, and watching him produce the way that he did on the football field was one of those things that you kind of put that feather in your cap and know that you had something to do with that. But it's kind of funny because most of the time when he was playing, I just looked at him as another football player. I wasn't necessarily worried, and that kind of got me in trouble at times because he took some shots when he was a quarterback and got knocked out of a few games. And I'm not necessarily the most loving kind of head coach at that point when I'm coming home and I'm talking about kids that have injuries and those kind of things, because we're going to, it's next man up mentality. So the next guy's coming in and we're going to still have the game tomorrow and we're still going to practice all those kind of things. And when it's your son that's gotten knocked out, sometimes your wife is not as happy with the head coach as you would like. But that would be definitely, I would say, would be one of those highlights I had having Drew there. And then my daughter Kylie came through as well. She worked as a manager, whether it was equipment or doing film and those kind of things. So they both grew up in a field house and have since moved on to bigger and better things.
Two things. One, I remember, if my recall is accurate, I remember a particular game at Tully Stadium where I think Drew got hurt. And so Tully used to be one of my favorite stadiums, and seeing him have to leave the game and see his worried mom outside the field house after it was over. Tully's not so much one of my favorites anymore.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, something that I just think is very sweet. I love to see siblings that love each other, and whether it's two brothers, two sisters, or a brother and a sister. And I know that Kylie was very supportive of Drew. And there was a particular, this might have been before your time, but at Dulles, you had Luke Metzer, who played quarterback for the Vikings. And his sister, Sarah, was a great athlete. She was great at softball. And Luke actually played baseball, too. And I remember one time he hit a grand slam or something, and I was broadcasting the game, and I was just kind of watching Sarah walk around with the biggest smile on her face. She's just so proud for her brother. It's a thing of beauty. And was there any time where Kylie and Drew butted heads a little bit over sports?
Well, I would like to say it was kind of interesting. They were only 2 years apart, but it was funny because Kylie probably knows as much football as any of us, just from the fact that, like I say, since she was born, she's been in the field house, and she would give Drew a razzing every once in a while when we would on the way home, I'm sure. And talk about games that he might not have performed very well in, and things that he should have done, and what he should have did this, and what his read should have been, and he should have thrown to this guy, and all those kind of things. So there was obviously some bitterness at times that came through. But I know my last game that I got to coach, both Drew and Kylie were both there. And just seeing them being able to be brother and sister, and to know that they came through our Travis Tiger football program and be a part of us, it's one of those things that you never want it any other way.
And I guess you only hurt the ones you love, right? Okay, we'll take a break and we'll be right back. And speaking of the ones we love, we never want to lose them. We almost lost Coach Sissom. And that's the tease before we come back with our next segment on the Still in the Game podcast on VYPE, presented by Texan Hyundai.
Looking for your next favorite thing? Goodwill Houston has a never-ending selection of clothing, household items, electronics, toys, and appliances for the whole family. From sports apparel to home decor, every visit is an adventure. When you donate and shop at Goodwill Houston, you're not just scoring amazing deals, you're supporting free job training, education, and career opportunities. Join us in making a difference.
Hi, this is Larry Poston with Above All Roofing and Construction. We've been proudly serving our community for 27 years. As a Christian-owned and operated company and as an ordained minister, I believe in treating every homeowner's roof like it's my own. What sets us apart is the attention to detail that we put into every roof. Every roof we install includes 7 free upgrades for lasting protection. We put on synthetic felt with plastic cap ring shank nails. We put on some of the best shingles in town, the GIF Timberline Lifetime HDZ Class 3 rated shingle. We install Storm Guard in all the valleys, around all the walls, and around all the vents. We install ridge vents everywhere we possibly can. Every project is backed by a 7-year labor warranty, and our Silver Pledge warranty through the manufacturer gives you total peace of mind. So if you want craftsmanship built on faith, family, and integrity, call Above All Roofing and Construction, where we put quality and care above all.
All right, welcome back to the Still in the Game podcast. It's great to have Trey Sissom with us. After all those years coaching football, he's going to be able to take it easy and do some things that he never had time to do before. And I know you're thankful for each and every day that you have. I'm going to think back to September the 8th of 2023, when our good friend, the late Trey De Los Santos, who was the baseball coach at Clements, later in his career moved over to George Ranch as an assistant. Well, he had some illness kind of sneak up on him, and I remember a night after Clements had played George Ranch at Hall Stadium, and to see players and coaches all gathered together after the game is over, praying for Coach De Los Santos. And I said, Trey, it's actually Easy De Los Santos. I can't believe I made that mistake. But Easy was in dire straits, and unfortunately we lost him. But, back in 2018, something happened to you, which is the reason that I know what multiple myeloma is. It's a very serious blood cancer that gets into the bone marrow. But let's start from the beginning. What did you start to experience physically that told you maybe something was wrong?
Yeah, it was kind of during the 2017 season. You go through the grind of a football season, and your body just takes a beating as a coach. You're working, 16-hour days for 7 days at a time, and you just naturally get tired. And during that season, I'd felt it just came on sooner. We have landmarks, whether it's the week 3, something at week 3 has happened, and then about week 7, certain things, and then when you get to the playoffs, you get kind of that breath of fresh air, and you get recharged for a little bit, but your body just takes a toll, and the game takes a toll on you. And as we went through, I started having issues with my back and my legs. Obviously we're standing on the field for 3 or 4 hours at a time. And by the time we got to Thanksgiving, after I got through with the playoff game, got to Thanksgiving, pain didn't subside. And normally by the time you get to Thanksgiving and going into Christmas, you've your body's recovered a little bit. You've kind of gotten your strength back and you're ready to get into off season. Well, for me, it never happened. So we kind of knew something at that point was coming along. And like I say, my wife stayed on me, and because she could see it too. She knew she'd done this long enough to know that something was wrong. And, by the time we got to Christmas, things hadn't gotten better. And then it kind of spiraled from there.
Well, sometimes we as men are reluctant to go to the doctor. It's like, it's nothing and that kind of thing. But I guess you didn't wait long, fortunately, in that. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
And did it help you make it through?
It was kind of one of those things where that if you talk to my wife, she said we waited way, way too long. But it got to the point to where the pain and things that I had in my back, that was the thing where I got to the point where I couldn't handle the pain anymore. That was kind of one of the deals. And really the onset, looking back on it, there really weren't a whole lot of signs. Mine was a very progressive type of cancer. It came on fairly sudden. And the signs that I was seeing kind of came on suddenly. And as a football coach, like you say, you just kind of put things aside and you keep going because you're in the moment and you got to do what you got to do. But I was very fortunate. Like I say, around Christmas time was when the symptoms got to the point where I couldn't really handle anymore. And I told my wife, okay, we're going to go to the doctor. We've got to go see. And we went through, emergency care and those kind of things. And they really didn't diagnose what it was. And then finally, in January, the Monday before we started school back, was the day that I went to my primary care physician and we looked at it, and then it, like I say, it took off.
Well, just a quick little detour here. Is there anyone that's particularly famous that has had multiple myeloma that you know of?
I don't really know. It's interesting you say that because now the disease that's come along, it's a genetic disease. It's not necessarily something that's passed down. It's not hereditary or anything like that. It just happens. But I've met a lot of people that have got it over the years and have kind of counseled some people and met some wonderful people through the disease. Unfortunately, they've kind of gone through the same thing I have, and I'm able to kind of shed some light on it. But I don't know of anybody famous necessarily that's had it because, and again, it's very rare. It's a very, very rare type of cancer. So when it happens in years past, it would be considered terminal. Whereas now the progression of the treatment and things like that, and I was fortunate to go through some of those experimental treatments down at MD Anderson. Now that it's more of what we would consider a chronic cancer. You're going to have it. You're going to have it for as long as you can, and it's we're going to make your life as pleasant as you possibly can go, and we're going to try to sustain you as long as you can now, as opposed to being one of those things that's really it's something that's going to be terminal for you.
So it's not really something that's eradicated, gone. You still have to take meds that will ward it off.
Yeah. So I was fortunate. Like I say, in 2018, I was able to get into MD Anderson. And there's a whole story that goes in with that. And the people that were there, the doctors and the nurses and everyone are top notch. There's obviously, if you've got cancer, and you got to be in a place, Houston's the best place to be. There's no place better than MD Anderson in the world. And, I was very fortunate in terms of timing. I got into a clinical trial that were using some experimental chemo at the time. It just so happens, when you talk about God's place and things, that the treatment that I was getting then is now the treatment that they do now. Mm-hmm. So it just happened to be that I was the guinea pig, so to speak. Yeah. But the guinea pig's still alive, so I can't complain. Yeah. You get the treatment that's got me in terms of remission. I've been in remission for really since probably going into that first year of treatment. I got into remission. I had some other treatments that I had to do. But you take the medicine and you live as long as you can. And like I say, there's side effects and all that kind of stuff, but it's better than the alternative. That's for sure.
Well, I mentioned that story about Easy de los Santos because, when teams play each other, of course, they have that burning desire to beat the other team, especially certain rivalries. There's that animosity that hopefully we lose when the game is over.
Yep.
But when you see the way that the Fort Bend ISD family, all the athletic programs came together when they learned that you were so sick.
Yes.
I remember something that just just a beautiful, beautiful thing going by Travis. I don't know if it was for a baseball or a softball game, but all those plastic cups in the fence that spelled out "Play for Trey."
Yeah.
And that was a beautiful manifestation of people caring.
Oh yeah.
Were there some other things that you can tell us about that maybe a little more behind the scenes that people showed how much they love you, even though that during a game against you, they might not feel so loving?
Yeah, obviously my family that was at Travis, Julie Diaz was our principal at the time. She actually came into Travis as our principal and then hired me as the head football coach the same year. And the things that she was able to do with me to give me the opportunity to still work. They actually let me come back before I probably should have, because I started treatment in January and I came back right after spring break, even though I probably shouldn't have, and worked half days and those kind of things. And obviously our athletic directors at the time, I started out with Coach O'Neill and then ended up with Coach Scott, who left to go to A&M. Mm-hmm. But all the people that were in that athletic office over there, they did a phenomenal job managing the Travis side without me. Because sometimes you never know, you as a head football coach, you always think that you're the captain of the ship, and if you're not there, the ship's going to sink. But the ship didn't. And my coaches at the time, Mike Aramonglo, he was my offensive coordinator. He's now the head coach at May Creek, and Clayton Odom. He was my defensive coordinator. He's now over at Lamar Consolidated. Those guys kind of stepped up and did a phenomenal job of kind of going through the things that you do as a head coach. And it kind of gave them insight and prepared them for the next phase in their careers. But yeah, the outpouring of support, especially from my family. I mean, it's one of those things for me, because I'm living through it. But the support that they gave my wife, my kids, because my kids were little at the time, they were coming through a junior high and elementary school at the time, and the outpouring of love and support for them, it can't be overstated how we appreciated it.
Well, Pray for Trey worked. All those prayers, God saw fit to let you stay with us.
Yep.
And
I still got my wristband still.
There we go. All right, so I want to talk about principles and their important role when we come back on the Still in the Game podcast with Trey Sissom.
It starts with learning the value of saving. We are here when dreams start to take flight. We're here when it's time to build your future. And we're here when it's time to enjoy the moments you've worked for. For every step, for every moment, we are here. Your credit union for life. Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union. Educate, partner, serve.
When you call a specialist, you expect a higher level of service and skill. The most experienced hands, the best craftsmanship, precision. And when your AC goes out in Houston's heat, the work must be done right. And it must last. This high level of quality is only found in the experts at Air Specialist. For AC repair, call the Air Specialist. Excellent quality at a fair price.
Welcome back to the Still in the Game podcast. And, Trey Sissom, glad to have you as our guest. Thank you so much for spending the time. But you're retired. I guess your time is not so short anymore. Sometimes you meet someone and you remember when you met them. Well, I remember one night I was at a Clements baseball game and I was grabbing some processed foods to eat during the game before I announced it on web radio for VYPE. And this lady in the concession stand kind of looked like Lauren Hughes, that girl who was on Love Boat. It was Julie Diaz. At the time, she was a middle school principal. And a few years after that, by the way, she was so helpful as a booster leader and things like that, and so much energy to work as a middle school principal. And then, you don't man the concession stand if you're Julie Diaz, but you serve back there. And she had a brother. His name was Drew. I'm our father, a son.
Yep.
Like you have a son, Drew,
yep.
And so did she. And she was just so helpful, and that I was happy to hear that she got to Travis. And I know that some of those principals, when I talk to coaches, they'll say that principal says, what do you need me to do to help you have the best chance to succeed? And after that, you had Sarah LaBerge, and she succeeded Ms. Diaz. So talk about the role of a principal and how much easier it is to do your job as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, the two that you just named there, they go right to the top of the list. You can't get better than Sarah and Julie. Super fortunate for me to be able to work with them in the setting. But like you said, Roger, the importance of a principal in a school and what they do for athletics cannot be overstated, because they're going to make or break you in terms of who they let you hire, the support that they give you, the things that happen in terms of the culture of the school. Is huge, and the tone that they set that translates right into athletics. And obviously Julie and Sarah are top notch. There's not any better ones. And I've been very fortunate over my 30 years. All of the principals that I've gotten to work with, whether it was at Travis or down at Bel Air or even at May Creek way back when, have been they've had schools named after them. I mean, Coach Tompkins, there, O.D. Tompkins is Coach T. He actually coached my wife in Katy ISD years and years ago, and he was a principal at May Creek for me, and is actually one of the people that actually got me into coaching in 1996, believe it or not. And, he's got a school named after him. And then I was fortunate when I was at Bel Air, I had Mike McDonough and Tim Salem that were there, and very much the same as Julie and what Sarah they had the role of kind of the king of the school, so to speak, or the queen of the school. And they always looked at athletics as just an extension of them. And that importance that they put on athletics and understanding what athletics does for the school culture and for just the kids in general, and how, the athletic program a lot of times is the heartbeat of the high school. They understood that importance and really supported us in everything that you could ever ask, for sure.
Well, when I think about Sarah LaBerge, you so appreciated her support that you did her a solid, and you decided to retire at such time to make it easy for her to welcome in the applications from many applicants. Yeah. And as we record this podcast, it is June the 19th. So I don't even know what the answer to this question is, but has Ms. LaBerge selected a new head football coach for Travis? And tell me about him.
Yeah, so very fortunate. Kendrick Crumity is the new head coach at Travis. And like you said, the timing that came along when my wife and I had talked about this and decided, how the transition should be in a high school setting for coaches. Obviously, most of us, you get to that Christmas time, and when you get to January, the next year has already started. So 2026 started in January. And obviously, Sarah had never hired a head coach. She came in after I was already there. So we sat down at Christmas time, and I gave her the timeline and told her what would be best for Travis and what would be best in terms of getting the person that she wants to lead the program to where she wants it to go. So we made a decision in December to get the announcement out. I stayed on, for probably up until February, until things kind of got shifted around and personnel got moved. And then I worked over at the natatorium. I got to sit in the office at the natatorium for a couple of weeks.
Well, in that very humid environment, if you have any wrinkles, it kind of helps steam them out. You just sit and watch kids swim all the time.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting because I'd been through some transitions with head coaches as an assistant. So having that opportunity to give her the chance to get the person she wanted. I didn't want to hold anybody hostage. Obviously the kids that I left at Travis are still my kids, and I want what's best for them. And then I also wanted Kendrick to have the opportunity to get in, to get his thumbprint on Travis, and to make sure that he's able to get his staff hired and all the things that go in terms of moving from one person's leadership to the other. Whether, you're at a program that was as successful as we had at Travis, or you're coming from a program that may not, the transition is still going to be rocky in a sense. But, we were able to get the timing down. The district did a great job. Coach Mize, Deb Mize is our athletic director there in Fort Bend now. And she worked real close with Sarah and getting the right, candidates in, and then, like I say, coming to the conclusion there to get Kendrick in, and excited to see what he's going to do for the Travis Tigers.
All right. And in your final season, your team, the Travis Tigers, for as long as I can remember, have been a team that is known for putting up a lot of points, a dynamic offense. They could really move the ball up and down the field. And I remember a couple of games before you became the Tigers coach, they would play Kempner, and Kempner only needed to fail on one offensive possession, and that meant they weren't going to win the game because Travis was going to score every time they got the football. But in your final year, you had some outstanding defensive performances. And I know Davis Kinney is gone now, so I know that Coach Crumity is going to be disappointed that he didn't have another year of eligibility. But talk about the difference in defense that you had in 2025, your final year.
It was a great group of kids to come through. Like you said, in years past, we were known for our offense, and we would kind of load up supposedly on the offensive side. And we had a lot of talent, obviously, there. And we had talent this year on offense as well. But defensively, with Davis, now he's at Arizona State. Josiah Vermeil was one of our other defensive backs. He's at Kansas State. They were both early graduates and have been there, gone through spring already and in summer workouts. Grant Merritt was one of our defensive tackles. He's gone to Nicholls State. And then we have Malcolm Graham. I mean, there's a list. I think we had 7 college football players on that defense out of 11, which is something that hadn't happened at Travis in the past. But the mesh with those kids and what they did. Jason Davis was my defensive coordinator. He did a phenomenal job of putting those kids in the right spot. And then in the reality of it is as a coach, the best thing you do a lot of times is get out of the way. Put them out there, get them lined up, get them set, and then turn them loose when they're that talented. And we were definitely fortunate to have those kind of kids on the defensive side this year.
Well, we'll have one more segment, and we'll talk about something that you don't have to be a boy. You can be a girl. Here's an idea. If you love football, you could be right there at the highest levels of football if you get into a certain thing that football players just cannot live without. And that's your tees. We're on the Still in the Game podcast, and we give it an ambiguous name because you're still going to be in the game. Even though you're retired, you're going to be watching football all the time. They'll probably come to you with some kind of consulting need or something like that. So we're going to talk about how your son, Drew, is still in the game, and you're going to be jealous when you hear what Drew gets to do and gets paid for it. And we'll also talk about the Aggie hat. I hadn't got to that yet. All right, we'll take one last break and be back on the Still in the Game podcast presented by Texan Hyundai.
Looking for your next favorite thing? Goodwill Houston has a never-ending selection of clothing, household items, electronics, toys, and appliances for the whole family. From sports apparel to home decor, every visit is an adventure. When you donate and shop at Goodwill Houston, you're not just scoring amazing deals, you're supporting free job training, education, and career opportunities. Join us in making a difference.
Hi, this is Larry Poston with Above All Roofing and Construction. We've been proudly serving our community for 27 years. As a Christian-owned and operated company and as an ordained minister, I believe in treating every homeowner's roof like it's my own. What sets us apart is the attention to detail that we put into every roof. Every roof we install includes 7 free upgrades for lasting protection. We put on synthetic felt with plastic cap ring shank nails. We put on some of the best shingles in town, the GIF Timberline Lifetime HDZ Class 3 rated shingle. We install Storm Guard in all the valleys, around all the walls, and around all the vents. We install ridge vents everywhere we possibly can. Every project is backed by a 7-year labor warranty, and our Silver Pledge warranty through the manufacturer gives you total peace of mind. So if you want craftsmanship built on faith, family, and integrity, call Above All Roofing and Construction, where we put quality and care above all.
All right. So do you love football? I think anybody who's watching this, yes, you love football, but Drew Sissom, Trey's son, is able to do something at A&M. And before you tell us about what Drew does at A&M with the football program and what his sister also wants to do some work in the football program in the same area, tell us about this 21st century hat. That doesn't look like your traditional A&M logo.
No, it was it's an A&M cap that I saw a couple of years ago. A baseball player when A&M made a run to the World Series. Jeff Kent was the dad that was in the stands, and
Real friendly guy, Jeff Kent.
His son was playing, and I kind of related to him a little bit in terms of the attention he got in a sense, but he's very stoic and very much just kind of wanted to watch the game and let his son do his thing instead of being the one that got all the attention. And I kind of appreciated that. But I got the hat, and I love the little logo. I don't even know, it's like a little cowboy with a little cowboy hat on.
It looks like
it's a neat looking hat.
He's married to Under Armour. That's what it looks like to me.
But I love the logo, and obviously class of 95. My wife is class of 96. Drew's class of 2027. My daughter's going to be class of 2029. So we've got a little bit of money has gone up to College Station over the years, and we're excited.
Well, fortunately for Drew, who loves football, but he's not NFL talent, so he's found another way to make his love of football work, and he's making a living. All that money you gave to A&M is getting paid back to Drew. What's his role in the equipment management business for a major college football team?
Yeah, so it's exciting for him. Had a chance when he came out of Travis. We talked about wanting to play at the next level and those kind of things. And obviously, when he got a chance to go to A&M, he hung the cleats up and decided to kind of take, like you said, a different role. Got in with the equipment side in terms of student assistants. This will be his third season there with him going into senior. He's one of the top guys in terms of student assistants at A&M. So he loves it. Being in the field house, it's second nature for him, and he's really, really enjoying. He gets to travel with the team. Obviously, this last season he was on special teams, so he worked with Coach Doherty and those guys on special teams and kind of helped them on the side. If you ever see him, he's the one that runs out and gets the tee. That's it. That was his job, one of the jobs that he had. So we always laughed because we told him to do some flips and those kind of things, and he said if he did, he'd get fired. So we told him, okay, don't do any flips. But he hasn't slipped going out to get the tee out either. So he's still got a little bit of athleticism. But he works this year. He's working all their camps. They did all their summer camps, so he was one of the top guys in the program to help get all their summer camps, and they're getting ready for. They're getting ready for fall ball here pretty soon. So we're excited about the season coming up and getting to watch him go.
And Kylie wants to get involved in it just the same, right?
Yeah. So our daughter, she graduated from Travis last year, went to A&M Corpus, and she'll be transferring to main campus here in College Station this year. And we're kind of hoping that she wants to get in on the equipment side. They don't have any females this year that do equipment, but she obviously did it for me. For 4 years. She was kind of Coach Atwood, who was one of my coaches that retired with me this year. He was my equipment manager, so Kylie and him would have some pretty good banter in the equipment room at times. But she's going to come in maybe, and if they have an opportunity there at A&M, she may slide in that, or she may do film. She filmed for us as well. So having both the kids there in the football program and just being able to experience that at the highest level is a pretty neat deal.
Well, now that you are a retired coach, you can kind of stand apart and analyze, if not criticize. And I'll tell you something. I don't really have an affiliation with any college in Texas. I'm a state of Texas fan. I would root for almost any team from Texas if they're playing some team from another state in some high stakes game. I'm just wondering, I'm looking at my driver's license and figuring out how old I am.
Sure.
Are the Aggies ever going to win a national championship? And I have to preface the question. Well, I guess I've already said the question, but the reason I ask is there's just no university that has a more active and generous alumni base than Texas A&M. You can't outspend them. They've got as much money as anybody, great facilities, great geographical location. Are you as frustrated as I am? Because I'm a little bit older than you, I believe. They always let me down. When they always get to the brink, they let me down.
It's interesting because being a football coach, I'm probably look at it a little bit differently in that I understand how difficult what they're trying to do. And sometimes, depending upon it really doesn't matter what level you're at. Some things are just out of your hands. You can't determine injuries. You can't determine circumstances. Sometimes you just match up with the wrong team at the wrong time. I mean, we talked about Tompkins and us when we're number 3 in the area, they're number 5 in the area, and we meet in the first round of the playoffs. And if we don't match up that week, we may go 3 or 4 rounds. So sometimes, circumstances dictate things. I love what Coach Elko has done in the staff that he's got. Trooper Taylor is a guy that has been around a long time. He's an old kind of South Texas guy that coaches running backs, associate head coach up there that is doing a great job for him. And then the kids that they have, they got a great group of kids. Obviously with Drew having worked equipment, I've gotten to go up there and watch them practice and see how they do things. I'm excited for what they've got. Like I say, it always comes down to 4 or 5 teams at the end of the season on the college side. And I think that with what they're doing, they're putting the right pieces together. Is it ever going to happen? You never know, because you're one injury away or one bad play away from a game turning, and you never hope that it happens against you, but you never know. You just prepare and you go into every game and do your best, and sometimes it works out for you, sometimes it doesn't.
All right, one other hot button college football thing I want to ask you about, and I'm not asking you about Sorsby, the quarterback who was going to be at Texas Tech. He was going to be the one that took him to the promised land, but because of the gambling scandal, he's out of there. But I thought it was interesting before that thing kind of blew up and eclipsed what I'm about to ask you about. I was very interested that Steve Sarkisian is talking about how, Texas Tech got into the playoff and they don't play as tough of teams as we do. And Tech immediately responded by going on social media and saying, okay, we'll buy out our game with Abilene Christian, and we will buy out Texas's game with the Texas State Bobcats, and we can play each other. And all of a sudden, Sarkisian's not interested. Well, I mean, if you really do want to show who's boss in the state of Texas, what do you think about that? And should Texas have taken the bait and played Texas Tech?
Well, the university there in Austin, like I say, they get what they deserve. But I will
remember, he's an Aggie.
Yes, when it comes to Texas University there, I don't wish them any harm necessarily, but I'm not going to root for them either. I would have loved to have seen them play Tech. I think, what Coach McGuire has done at Texas Tech has been phenomenal in terms of turning it around. Obviously, you talk about the money and those kind of things, but I know him as a coach and as a person, and some of the guys that he's got. I was very fortunate last year, got to meet David Bailey, who was their defensive end, and Jake Rodriguez, who was their linebacker. They were both with the Lombardi Award here in Houston. My wife is with Rotary, and she was one of the guest representatives. She was the one that got to take them around and got to meet them, and just talking to them and seeing how good a people they are. I understood that Coach McGuire's got a good thing going there at Tech. If they were to play Texas, I think it might have been even money. But you also got to realize Texas is probably going to play somebody pretty good the next week. And playing Texas Tech and getting beat up in that kind of a physical game and then having to turn around and play, I believe it's the other school, the Ohio State Buckeyes is coming right after that. That would not necessarily be a thing. You want to, the machismo of, okay, we'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. Yeah, that works right up until you line all those people up and you realize you still have, 10 more games that you have to go. You don't want to do that in week 1 and week 2 because you might not make it to week 9 and 10 and 11.
See, he's a coach. He thinks about things in a bigger picture way. So anyway, I just would have loved to see Texas and Tech play each other. And maybe one of these years.
Well, like I say, you never know. With the way the playoff goes now, they expand the playoffs. They might line up in the playoffs and play in the first round of the CFP. And won't be a home and home, but it'll still be a good one either way.
Well, Coach, I don't know how many opportunities I might have to do this, but I might see if you'd like to join me, and you could be the analyst on one of our video stream games involving the LCISD teams. And I'll try not to make it a game between LCISD and the Travis Tigers. I think that would be kind of tough for you. Kind of like Kirk Herbstreit doesn't announce Ohio
Yeah,
State
I don't
games.
I don't have that bias filter that I can turn off. If I'm watching Travis, I'm going to be rooting for Travis. And then coaches that are at Lamar Consolidated right now are buddies of mine, Coach Lane and Coach Odom, Coach Gay and Coach Green. Those are all guys that worked on my staff at Travis. They're at Lamar Consolidated High right now. So we're excited. But yeah, it would be interesting, right? If I'm in town and have a chance, I'd love to step in there and just kind of tag along and listen to you.
Okay, well, I'd rather listen to you, but I was looking the other way because evidently Joe Rogan is on the line for you. He wants to talk to you.
No.
Wants to do a podcast with Trey Sissom. Thanks for being with us on the Still in the Game podcast, and I love to pick your brain anytime.
Thank you, Roger. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for being with us, and goodbye for now from Texan Hyundai in Rosenberg, and we'll be back with another podcast very soon. Thanks for being with us.